These two things can see ourselves there.
We're
a couple minutes late because we're tardy to the party that's about to get started. I'm Grace Weinstein, and this is Steve Morris. He hosts Margin of Error from The Recount. Everybody's favorite.
WTFA.
I do.
Week from The Recount.
Nobody's favorite, but we'll get there one day.
Also, once a month for the record, not once a week. I could not.
Well, that's true.
That just flashed my life before my eyes right there.
I know. Sorry to scare you like that. We wanted to come here live to you today because Donald Trump will be giving his first address to the joint session of Congress. No, it is not a State of the Union address. There is some small technical, negligible differences, namely that he has not been presiding over the company. The CEO of America.
Lumen Industries.
Has not been presiding for the past year. So he has to look forward, not backwards. What's the status of Donald Trump going into tonight? Let's talk about popularity. Let's talk about polling.
Let's talk about vibes.
Please, the vibe session.
Let's talk about indicators.
Number one is...
wow, putting me on the spot. I mean, the numbers that come to mind, the Dow, the unemployment rate, the tweets, I mean, the tariffs. What is, I guess that's the thing to start off, just to start off for everybody here. Obviously, Donald Trump is going to go up on stage, on the dais, on the podium, maybe around 9 o'clock, I think. So until then, we're going to be just kind of setting the stage, setting the table, setting any number of things ahead of that. And I guess the first question we want to talk about here is, what is the state of our union? Even though we're not really doing a State of the Union. I mean, to me, it's contradicting weather patterns right now. Right?
Why?
Well, by all indications, the U.S. is, as Joe Biden was fond of saying, we're doing pretty well relative to a lot of other countries. Our unemployment rate is lower than most other developed countries. Our inflation rate is lower than most other developed countries. But, I mean, pretty much the only thing the left and the right agree on right now is that there's some sort of big, huge, engulfing crisis in the country. Everybody disagrees about what that is. Some people say it's slashing the government. Some people say it's that we haven't slashed the government enough, that there's still deep state actors, whatever. But everybody's unhappy right now, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of the vibe?
I think one of the most interesting things that I read recently was like, you can't pull a fast one on Americans when it comes to the economy. It's if they feel like it's bad, they're going to feel like it's bad no matter what. That was true during the Joe Biden presidency when he, like you said, would get up there and say, you know, everything is good. The economy looks great.
Folks,
many people agreed.
I'm being serious.
Yeah. The squinting was really the biggest part of that. And now there are a lot of things that show us that people are still going to remain feeling bad about the economy as it is actually getting worse.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily people aligning with a party one way or another of like, the economy's bad and I'm saying that because I'm a Republican and Joe Biden is president. It's kind of like the economy is bad and they're going to say that regardless of who's president.
Yeah. I mean, one of the funny things about the past 20 years or so is that we've seen, you guys are getting a different view of us.
I know. They asked us to tweak it. I don't know how to do that.
This looks like a 2011 Tyler Oakley
I know,
thumbnail.
but the Skype camera,
Yeah,
RIP
totally.
Skype.
Not clickbait.
One more view for you. There we go.
How's that look?
Much better.
Anybody?
Much better. There we go.
Thank you.
I gotta wonder if it's exactly what it was before, but hey, I'm not in charge of that.
Continue.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, like people generally change their opinions about the economy when somebody new comes into power. Republicans say it gets better when a Republican comes in. Democrats say it gets worse. Traditionally, Democrats have been less likely to change their opinions than Republicans. That seems to have changed a little bit this time around. The thing that I've been most struck by is it seems like people actually are being a little consistent in that they're consistently unhappy.
Yes.
Under Trump, too, which is really notable given the economy was kind of his saving grace the last time.
Totally. And he's got these poll numbers out and he is like in the negative, in the red on economic polling. His polling in general is not where it was the first term. It's a little bit better, but it's still consistently worse than any other leaders at this point in their second term or first term. Do you think that bothers him?
Well, the one thing we know about him is he does not care about those numbers, doesn't care about polling.
No.
You know, it never crosses his
Just
mind
into
whatsoever.
the wind.
I see somebody in the chat talking about how eventful the past two months have been. I think that's very true. I was actually calculating on the way here. It has been 17 weeks exactly since we came to this. We come to this place for magic. We came here for election night 2024.
Heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
Exactly. And 17 weeks from now is July 1st. So just a sense of how much time has passed. Okay. July 1st doesn't seem wildly far away, but November 4th, whatever that was, seems like a decade ago, personally.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, on the polling part, it is funny to measure this because Trump is more unpopular than any other recent incumbent at this point in his presidency, but he is noticeably more popular than he was the first time around. So it's like, what are you trying to measure him against? Everyone else or the bar he himself set, which is kind of a consistent theme for Donald Trump.
Totally. And it begs the question, like, does that really matter? Like, does it matter if he stacks up against where he was in his first term? Does it matter if he stacks up against other presidents past? Because he's doing only things Donald Trump could do.
On that, we can agree.
Yeah,
all of us.
For real. And it makes me wonder, I was thinking today, what the hell are we going to hear tonight from this speech? What are some things that he's trying to achieve in your mind?
Well, I think that's a good question for the chat. And FYI, we'll be checking in as the night goes on. So feel free to throw in questions, queries, discussion points, controversial opinions. The more controversial, the better. I think we can pretty much guarantee that outside of the really dark comments, we'll pretty much engage with everything. What do we think he was going to talk about? Here's the funny thing. The first term of Donald Trump, the biggest frustration he had and that all hardcore MAGA people had was that he didn't get to do enough of what he really wanted to do.
Yeah.
That he was thwarted by the establishment Republicans around him, the rich bigwigs he chose from Wall Street or corporate America or the Liz Cheney wing, whatever you want to call it. And that's true. That is genuinely true. A lot of his appointees were traditional Republicans. We see the vice president walking in right now.
Well, we don't see it yet. I'm going to show you right now. There it is. We've got a full screen.
And that's John Thune, pretty much a prototypical establishment Republican. And
why don't we give this a watch for a second while they come and adjust the sound for you guys?
Right behind him, New York's own Chuck Schumer. It's always a fun part, seeing him walk in.
Are we good? If you can hear us in the chat, clap twice. We're back. This is the entry into the gigantic room that they're in. Chamber of Congress, Chambers of Commerce. Mm-hmm. No.
They call it the chamber.
It is called the Chamber of Secrets, where everybody airs out their dirty laundry in there. You were saying, if you remember.
Well, now I'm a little distracted by all these friendly faces.
Please.
But, what we were just talking about is, in his first term, Trump was indeed, he didn't get to do a lot of what he really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And now he's getting to do a lot of what he wants to do, and that is beginning with the massive tariffs he's posting on, whether you like him or not, people who are traditionally our allies. And that's, I think, ultimately going to be the real question, whether Americans judge him for the idealized version they had or the version they're actually going to get,
I think a lot of that comes down to tonight specifically. I think this is an opportunity for him to justify a lot of his actions of the past 2 months.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I think a lot of Americans are waiting to hear his answers for, because there are many people, as we know, many people are saying that things are not going the way that they would have liked them to. So this is a chance for him to clean up the chaos a little bit, justify some of his actions, and really reassure a lot of Americans who may feel uneasy at this point in time. Whether he'll be successful at that remains to be seen, but I think that, from our perspective, is what he should be trying to do tonight.
I think that's a good point. It's reassurance and justification, for sure.
Yeah.
As we're seeing coming in, we have Vice President J.D. Vance yucking it up. That's Congresswoman Virginia Foxx right there. Shelley Moore Capito. Just the stars are out tonight.
Virginia Foxx, tiniest little.
It's always fun to see who is and who is not tall.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got
Right
a good
here,
question.
Chip Roy with the goatee, who could very well be is not exactly a household name right now, could turn into that as the year goes on, because he is one of the few House Republicans who's been sticking with their rhetoric on the debt and the deficit that they previously had under Democratic presidents and sticking with it under Trump.
Yeah. I want to pull up in the chat here, said, will there be a lot of people who are not Congress members, like his cabinet and Supreme Court judges? Yes, the makeup of this room is fascinating to me. I can tell you as much about our politics as, the things that go on in this building on a regular day.
Yeah.
This is a fascinating insight into the minds of all of these people. So we do have the Supreme Court always in attendance. You will have, obviously, both chambers of Congress, and you have a lot of the cabinet there, military generals you'll see here, which there's obviously just been a massive overhaul of the top of the
Joint
Department
Chiefs.
of Defense.
Yeah, and obviously typically there is one designated survivor from the cabinet.
Do we know who it is yet?
I don't think we know who it is.
Chat, if you know who the designated survivor,
drop it.
Put it in.
Or guess. I'm curious.
What if it's RFK?
Huh.
They're like, we entrust the future of the government in case of an emergency to Robert F. Kennedy.
That's an ABC vehicle if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, right. And here is Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. There he is. And he is in, of course, not the official government actors are down here in the well, where Supreme Court justices are, where the cabinet officials are. Elon is up in the rafters, which is where the First Lady is, where guests are. So another small symbol that, for all his real institutional power, he's still not exactly in the government,
Yeah, which is maybe against his own best attempts to be in there. But I'm curious about...
Designated survivor is Doug Collins, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs.
So it was the Secretary of Veterans Affairs during one of Trump's State of the Unions as well. I was just reading this recently.
Trump or Biden? Biden.
Biden's?
Yeah. You said during Trump.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
mean during Biden?
During Biden,
Dennis
sorry.
McDonough?
Yes, thank you. I feel like that's a good choice.
Yeah,
Solid choice.
I don't know if they... I don't know if they're playing
political?
Uno and, loser has to sit out.
Spin the wheel.
Or winner.
Oh! Hello, eyebrows.
We have the Daily Wire's presence here. Ben Shapiro on the left, Matt Walsh in the center, and Riley Gaines, who's an activist, a conservative activist.
Anti-trans is really the thing that she's known for.
Anti-trans,
Swimmer.
girl participation in sports.
They are in Speaker Mike Johnson's box.
We have former Speaker Newt Gingrich, former ambassador to the Holy See, Callista Gingrich. I'm telling you, the stars are out.
Former picture taker with me, Newt Gingrich, at the airport after the RNC. This is a lively room, but look, this is the first shot we can really see of some of the Democrats attempting to send a message tonight. We've got some pink.
Did you see that article about this?
Yeah, let's talk about it, please.
So there's been a lot of discussion.
Here's a perfect example.
By Democrat. Oh my God, actually, it's perfect. Yeah. Oh, she's doing both though.
She's saying, "I'm gonna give you everything.
She's
I'm
still
gonna give
got
everything."
a cane, I guess.
Yeah, she broke her hip. You remember? She fell down the stairs.
Like months ago.
She's 80 something. It takes a while to mend that shit.
Yeah. Anyway, there's been a lot of discussion about what Democrats will do to kind of signal a actual kind of protest against Trump. In the past, there's been color coordination has been a thing, particularly after Me Too. There were the Democratic Women's Caucus, I believe, wore black, and then one year wore white to mark the first time over 100 women were serving in Congress. This time, there were a wealth of ideas about what colors to wear. And it seems that they didn't settle on one. So there are, according to reporting we saw, there are women wearing pink for women's rights and families. There are some wearing black we see in the top right of your screen right here.
Jasmine Crockett.
To indicate the gravity of the moment. And some wearing blue and yellow to indicate support for Ukraine. Now, one might ask, when you're wearing multiple different colors, does that muddle the message, perhaps?
I mean, we're going to see a wide shot of them at some point again, and I feel like it will boil down to them just looking like they were dressed for a normal day. I don't think any of it is really going to stand out, maybe except this pink that is a beautiful fuchsia.
Right,
we wear social action.
We are?
We wear social action.
What does that mean?
No idea. Chat, anybody know what wear social action is?
I mean, it looked like the A's were in a different color.
AAA is sponsoring the women of Congress tonight.
Honestly, would that be? That's kind of like a Michael Moore liberal fantasy, like where you put who their biggest donors are on them.
Totally.
Just an idea. I've thrown out a lot of ideas.
Totally.
Tonight. Here's my question for you: what does it say to you that the most popular Democratic positions are not the ones they're highlighting with their garb choice?
It reflects the larger issue at hand with the Democrats, which is that people do not feel like their issues, their priorities are being accurately represented by this group of people. And I think that is shown. Just like the visual here is so strong of that. There are also people we forgot to mention who did not show up. That was the original bifurcation of the Democratic caucus was some of them decided not to go. Some of them decided that they would be better served in the room making a statement. If they cannot decide on one message to send to their constituents, to their believers, their followers, the people that elected them, I just don't know what you're supposed to make of it as somebody who wants a firm, resolute, united Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm. I mean, here's the thing: is I don't. We have Usha Vance here as the second lady up in her perch up there. I don't know who her guests are personally, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is I don't know that I have a clear answer on whether or not it'd be better to completely not go or all show up. It's also a case of, at a certain point, you can't force people to go,
No.
However, here's a fun quote I just recently heard from none other than Florida First Lady Casey DeSantis, who I think is increasingly moving towards running for governor next year.
I think so too.
Really interesting subplot. That
has that ever happened? A handoff to a spouse?
Yes, I believe. I would have to double check this, but George Wallace's wife ran for governor of Alabama because he was term limited, and she was essentially like a puppet for George Wallace. Wow. Not exactly the precedent you want to seek. I don't think they're not at all comparable situations, but that's the first thing that came to mind for me. She was addressing whether or not she would run, and she quoted Yogi Berra, and she said, in the words of Yogi Berra, when you get to a fork in the road. Actually, I'm misremembering the quote. Vamp while I look it up.
While he looks that up, I want to continue talking about like what's going on in this room tonight.
Okay, I got it.
Oh,
when you come to a fork in the road, take it. And that essentially means like when you get to a choice, you have to choose. Because I had to find out what exactly that meant.
Okay.
And I do think that's applicable here. Like whether you're going to all show up or not, whether you're all going to wear one color or not, you got to choose. Whether or not you even think this is a huge gravity moment or not, you're not in control of the government. You were defeated across the board. Yeah. Any out party, any opposition party has to choose at this moment. So that's my contribution. Please continue.
And they remain comfortable waffling. Democrats will say, well, I'll tell you this on this day, and then maybe I'll dabble over here and
which
a
is
little bit of the
sometimes
opposite.
effective.
That is a politician through and through. Like when I asked Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, do you like applesauce or sour cream on your latkes? And he was like, both. I was like,
both.
Politician. We're about to get some sound here, so we're going to turn this on.
Oh, have we been silent this whole time?
No, we've been silent, but this has not. Or no, they've been silent.
Yeah.
We've
just been talking.
Mr. Scalise, the gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer, the gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. McClain, the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson,
the escorts,
the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Reschenthaler,
and let us know if you can hear us as we chat over this a little bit. Put that in that chat, just so we know the levels are right.
New York, Mr. Jeffries, the gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Miss Clark.
Mike Pence showing up would be epic. That is funny.
Gentleman from California, Mr. Liu. The gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Nagoose.
Okay, sounds
The gentleman
good.
from
Love
Washington,
that.
And this
Mr.
is
Binet.
Mike
The
Johnson's
gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. Dingle.
third joint
The
address
President
or
of the Senate,
State of the
Yeah.
Union?
at the direction
Fourth.
of that body,
Second.
2022.
appoints the following senators as
No.
members
Oh.
of the
He was
committee
elected Speaker in
on the part of
October
the Senate to
2023,
escort the
which
President
means
of
his
the United
first
States
joint
into the
address
House
or
chamber.
first State of the Union
senator from
was
South
2024, so this
Dakota,
is his
Mr.
second.
Boone.
Kevin
Yeah.
McCarthy
Senator
got
from
one.
Wyoming,
Okay.
Mr.
R.I.P.
Barrasso.
You think
The
he's going to
senator
rip
from
the speech up at the end,
Arkansas,
a la Nancy
The
Pelosi in
senator from
2020?
Oklahoma,
Anybody
Mr.
remember that
Langford.
one?
The senator from West Virginia,
God.
Mrs.
That was
Capito.
back when Democrats
The
knew how
senator
to
from
make a
South
moment.
Carolina,
She
Mr.
thought
Scott.
that she knew
The
she was going to
senator
do
from New
that.
York, Mr.
Rip that
Schumer.
shit. That was
The senator from
orchestrated.
Illinois, Mr. Durbin.
Unlike
The senator from Minnesota,
the
Ms.
Democrats
Klobuchar.
issued
The
a
senator from New Jersey, Mr. Booker.
a mass
The senator
communication,
from
you could
Wisconsin,
say,
Ms. Bolton.
today, where they all recorded one
The
video
members of the
and
escort
26
committee will
senators
exit the
posted
chamber
it.
through the
Oh, this was
lobby
great.
doors.
I actually, anyone out there, Google it if you haven't seen it. I thought
Google
was
it. It's
interesting.
horrifying because somebody put them all together, and of course they are off paced ever so slightly, but the words are all exactly the same. It was a bizarre communication tool in an era when people really are craving and have been clear about craving individuality, authenticity. We want what Elizabeth Warren says to be different than what Cory Booker says, and he was the one who came forward and was like, I wrote this for everyone. Who knows if history will look at that as like he should have a career in screenwriting, or that was a one and done. Time will tell.
Just to the folks in the chat asking what the list they were reading is the list of the members who are escorting the president in. So it's not, they're not going through all 535 members, thank God. Just those who are coming in. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is I feel like there is right now, there's a lot of, you can shit on the Democratic leaders and go viral or be able to get somebody to publish you, or there's no punishment for that right now.
Yeah.
Whether you're on the right, the left, whatever, everybody loves to do it. I don't, that doesn't mean there's not grounds to do that. It is worth specifying that if you haven't subscribed to the Recounts newsletter in your inbox every 2 weeks,
A must.
you can join almost 100,000 folks who have subscribed and are paying our light bill. Not really, but kind of. And we talked about this a couple weeks back, that it usually takes parties a long time to figure out how to come back. 2017, when Democrats immediately knew what to do, that was kind of an aberration. So judging them from that is a little hard. But I guess what I would just say here is, do you think that people punish? Do you think more people are going to see those individual TikToks, or are going to see the one of them all spliced together reading from the same script?
Oh, I think the one of them
You
all,
think?
absolutely. It already has millions of views on
Oh, does
Twitter.
it? Really?
Millions.
Ooh.
It was, so X does a thing now where they aggregate different stories and use AI to like put them all together. And
Yeah.
I've noticed that it has a very ideological bent to it, as is a surprise to nobody. And that was the first one on my page today when I signed on this afternoon, which would never be something collected as a story to tell prior to this. But I think that's going to be the big thing. Nobody's going to look at the one and done. There's no shot. What do we have here?
We have the court coming in.
Big ruling out of the court today.
Yeah. Did everybody see
Interesting.
this?
A little 5-4
Men versus women.
men versus women.
All the men in the majority, all the women in the minority.
Which, sisterhood.
Feels like the gender divide only getting worse.
Yeah. But it was about EPA clean water standards.
Yeah,
It's worth
sexy.
reading.
Sexy.
Sexy stuff. A lot of Democrats are using the opportunity to say Republicans
Whoa,
want
hold on.
poop in the water.
It's Anthony Kennedy, not a member of the court.
What is he doing there?
They can still come.
You can?
Yeah, you have a
It's-
lifetime pass.
It's a life... Really?
And I
I mean, I
believe we
figure they
only
all-
saw, anybody in the chat, feel free to fact check me, but I believe we only saw John Roberts, Elena Kagan, and Brett Kavanaugh. Oh, and Amy Coney Barrett. So only 4 out of the 9.
By choice, you think?
Yeah, I don't think they're banned.
No, definitely not. But I wonder if there, if there's any illness, if there's any... I had a prior conflict, like Bill
All 5 of
Hader,
them
SNL 50.
Have COVID.
Yeah,
Have
right.
mono.
Measles, perhaps. No, God forbid. Who else are we missing in this room?
Well,
The president?
AOC, for one. I mean, there are a number of Democrats boycotting, right?
Yes. Elizabeth Warren.
Do you think that's...
She was supposed to boycott, and she was in there, actually.
Was she supposed to
Yes. I saw
She's
her on a
definitely in there.
graphic. Yeah.
We definitely saw her.
Very interesting.
What color was she wearing?
Blue.
Wow, Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah. Raul in the chat said standing versus sitting is really telling. This is everybody's favorite thing to focus on when it comes to these speeches is Republicans stand up and clap for everything Trump says. Democrats stand up for nothing and no one, sitting down in their principles. The roles are reversed every single time. I find it so weird. I'm just like, why do we insist on doing this? We know that you like his ideas. We know that you don't. But it also is, you end up looking stupid when you're a Democrat not clapping for Trump saying, you know, we want all kids in America
Right, yeah.
to have a good education,
Totally, yeah.
and you're sitting on your hands.
I mean, that's the thing is every president will deliver their partisan and ideological views in the most anodyne, patriotic,
totally
sanitized way. So you have a president up there saying, we will secure the future of Social Security. And they're either saying we need to like massively raise taxes on it, or we need to slash benefits because either could be secure the future.
Yeah.
But to somebody at home, they're like, why are there 300 people not applauding securing the future of Social Security? So
Right.
a lot of this is pomp. A lot of it is drama.
I know. I watched Trump's 2017 address to Congress. Haven't seen it since then, obviously.
Yeah,
it's
what'd
not
you
the
think?
type of thing I'm pulling up with any frequency. It was very interesting because it was the calmest and most put together and most restrained speech I can say this confidently, ever seen him give. We have watched nothing but straying from that type of performance ever since then in favor of off the cuff, veering away from the prompter, feeling out the moment, feeling the crowd, call and response. And I was thinking to myself, like, would we ever see that type of speech from him tonight, where he stays on the prompter, he's locked in, he's got a clear message, he delivers it calmly, collected. And I'm like, I really can't expect that to happen.
Well, you know what the 2017 speech was the birth of? Was the meme, this is the night Donald Trump finally became president.
Oh.
Because that's... Van Jones went on,
Van Jones went on
CNN and said, this is the night Donald Trump finally became president, which birthed a million memes, at least if you're hyper online, like some people. So yeah, it was a very staid, traditional, button-down speech. I mean, my main curiosity, I'm wondering what you think about this. There's a lot of reasons that Donald Trump has never walked into a joint address or a State of the Union with more vindication than this one.
Totally.
I mean, this is literally the chamber that the mob tried to break into to prevent his defeat 4 years ago and 2 months ago, and he's returned to it as the triumphant leader of a party that controls the entire federal government.
Yeah.
At the same time, he's... How old is he, actually?
79?
Sure, yeah.
I think he's 79.
He's never been older, you know?
He has truly never been older than today.
Yeah, as is true for all of us,
Yes.
except for me.
And you look at
And
Benjamin Button here with us on the broadcast.
And, like, we've already seen this with the inauguration speech that was A, short, and
Yes.
B, no energy. None.
Well,
you know?
okay, this is actually a great time to have a frank discussion. Last year, at this moment, at this exact time, was...
Yeah, anyone remember what we were all doing?
Yeah, please. Is Joe Biden going to make it through a State of the Union address?
Sue says he's 78.
78.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Sue. Is Joe Biden going to make it through a State of the Union address?
Yeah.
And even if he does make it through, which he did, and people were like, he's saved, he's suddenly 50 again. A little homemade arts and crafts
Whoa!
here.
What is this?
14th Amendment.
This is Jill Takuda from Hawaii. And
14th Amendment.
She has written, We the People on her lapel, and the text of the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's a fair. Oh, here comes First Lady Melania Trump with the
her hair,
Beyonce
like,
wind
what is going on there?
machine in the stairwell.
Who's doing that?
Wait, where is it
Look
coming
at
from?
everybody clocking. It's literally blowing.
Oh, this is fascinating. Where is it coming from? Elon Musk not even aware of who's walking in the room right now. I like the scarf tucked into the belt is something.
Anyway, 2024.
Yeah.
This time a year ago.
We were like, he's not going to make it. And it's kicked off discussions of he's too old to do this. He can't do this again. Discussions which eventually got him removed from the race. Are we being unfair by not having the same questions about and conversations about Donald Trump's age?
Well, I mean, my recollection of this last year was everybody
Air it out.
suddenly deciding
Air it out.
that Joe Biden reading a script was an indication of, unstoppable vigor, which I think was turned out to not be true. Hold on, let's pause.
A little turned out to not be true.
The president's cabinet.
That was just the cabinet. Never mind.
Oh, who cares about the cabinet? Just kidding. These are very controversial people right now.
I mean, remember this time last year, too, they had that big standoff about Medicare and Social Security and the, negotiating in public. There was a lot of heft to it last year, it felt like. But, I mean, here's the thing. The immediate takeaway from a lot of people, I remember one Ezra Klein from the New York Times who became a ringleader of efforts to get rid of Joe Biden.
Of course.
And was a very staunch advocate of that. After that address, he didn't say I was wrong, but he did say if this is what he was delivering all the time, then I wouldn't be out here. And that is how a lot of people felt, but that turned out to not be true. Yes. Who you are one night of the year when you're reading something is much different, and that's very true of Trump, obviously.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah. But it will be interesting if he feels slow and rambling. Can imagine the same way that, staunch centrist Democrats were fiercely defending Joe Biden. The MAGA cohort will do the same. They will never admit to any fault.
Imagine. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to read from the chat, but you go.
I was just going to say, imagine if last year Joe Biden had like the crooked media guys as his guests, like up in the rafters, the way we have Daily Wire and whatever. Like, whatever you think about them or their ideology, it's just it's a melding of the state and the media in a way that I personally might not find super healthy, but who knows? Sorry.
I know, especially in light of today came out that, Ben Shapiro decided to start a campaign to pardon Derek Chauvin, who murdered and is convicted of murder.
Was convicted of murder.
Of George
was
Floyd.
filmed on camera, in
yes.
fact.
And he is in prison currently. And they're starting a campaign to pardon him. So I wonder if that's something that will come up tonight. If there's going to be a shout out in the law and order section of wronged law enforcement. Considering one of the Doge cuts that a lot of people were up in arms about was removing a police... what's the word that I'm looking for? It was a a database for police bad behavior.
Misconduct.
Misconduct. Thank you. It was a misconduct database, and it was removed in one of the many Doge purges, government website purges. So it would fall in line with what they're trying to do here.
One thing I'm watching here. A chunk of Trump's cabinet has not yet been confirmed. At least Stefanik, the last I checked.
Which she was the first one they announced.
She was
and the
one.
last
She
to be
was one of the
confirmed.
first ones.
Very interesting.
I believe part of the calculation is they need her vote in the House, so they're delaying as long as possible.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
I mean, they passed the budget resolution by one vote. Had she been confirmed, she wouldn't have been able to. They wouldn't have been able to pass the budget resolution. But she's walking in with the cabinet as a cabinet designate, even though she is not officially the United States Secretary or UN ambassador, which is interesting.
And that will be a very interesting special election.
It will be, yeah.
Upcoming.
I think people are underestimating the chances of that becoming competitive.
Ooh, me too.
Yeah,
I agree with that. When that is soon.
Well, New York Democrats were trying to pass legislation to give them the ability to wildly delay the election for like months and months and months. Which is something some red states have done. Ron DeSantis kept a couple seats open for like 6 or 8 months.
Oh, yeah.
Under Biden. I would say that whatever party you're part of, it is a bad thing to disenfranchise people from being able to have a voting representative.
Totally.
But point is, we don't know what it will be. In part because she hasn't resigned yet. You know, she's still there.
That's so interesting.
Is anybody sticking out to you on this?
The woman wearing a cape is of interest to me, but I have no idea who she is. Here in this white.
That is Brooke Rollins, right?
Oh, she looks like Davina from Selling
I was literally thinking that. That's so funny.
That's really wild. And that's an outfit she would wear, too.
Yeah, that's Brooke
Is she about to sell an $80 million house?
Wow. Yeah.
Brooke Rollins the other day was asked about price increases for eggs. And she said, well, people should just have chickens in their backyard.
So I saw somebody on Twitter remark about this. Back in 2010, in the Nevada Senate race, the establishment frontrunner for the Republican primary, Sue Loudon, I think she was the lieutenant governor, went down because somebody asked her about Obamacare and what Republicans should propose alternatively. And she said, back in the day, you used to barter directly with the doctor. You could come bring a chicken, and he would say, I would give you this amount of health care, whatever. And people were like, what are you talking about? What are you saying? And then she eventually lost to a Tea Party candidate. But what is it, 12 years later, 14 years later? We're still talking about chickens. It's the one constant.
I'd love to hear some questions from the chat while you're
what are y'all
here.
watching for?
Look alive. Whatever burning questions and things that you've been wondering about as long as he's been in office, which feels like 2 years, we're here to answer them. I promise. We can.
You promise?
Yes.
You promise?
I give you my word that we will answer your question.
Your word is a Biden?
Yeah. There are terms and conditions that are small text under a pharmaceutical commercial, but get to those another time.
Yeah, I mean, Trump should be arriving in the next, I would say, you want to bet on it? Predict it? 5 minutes or so?
That's a good question.
It'll take around 35 minutes for him to get from the entrance to the dais.
So... can we talk about that for 1 sec? I do wonder about the voracious fight to the death that goes on to get an aisle seat. Marjorie Taylor Greene, staple of the aisle since she got
last year
there.
too, remember?
Oh, of course it was. Yes. Oh, never forget it. That was so funny.
That's another thing I want to watch out for. Last year, remember, she wore a MAGA hat.
Yes.
Troy Nels from Texas wore like a Chippendales kind of outfit, like where he had
no shirt.
Yeah, remember he had like no shirt on, but he had a blazer. It's somebody out there. If you can Google it, put a link in the chat or something.
I need to know.
I don't know if Marcy Kaptur or Robert Garcia are going to be doing the same thing this year on the Democratic side, but
shenanigans
remains to be seen. Yeah,
I mean, I wanted to do a little over-under for the sports bettors in the house. How many times the Democrats are going to stand up at all?
Yeah.
Let's set it at 1. Are you taking the over or the under?
Oh, over.
Over.
Setting it at 1. That it's just, are they going to do it or are they not? Let's set it at 5.
Okay.
Over or under?
Under.
Interesting.
You're going to take the over.
I don't know. I mean, what counts as Democrats standing? Is it like Jared Golden standing up for we're going to unleash the majesty of American oil production?
If their
or is
knees
it all Democrat?
All
Let's make this more
group.
interesting. How many times does Hakeem Jeffries stand up? My congressman, by the way. Doxing myself a little bit.
He's
but
probably
it's a
going to
big
have
congressional
sunglasses
district.
on and be like hitting a vape because that's what the kids try to do. How do you do, fellow children? Twice.
Okay. I mean, that's actually the really only interesting thing I'm thinking of.
Forget everything else. That's the only interesting
No,
thing.
truly, like will Democrats
Yes.
stand up at all?
Yes.
Because even in Trump's first term, they did.
Yeah.
Which, you might wonder, like, if you truly regarded this person as a threat to democracy from the beginning, which they said that they did, like,
right.
Whatever.
Why would you?
But, who knows?
Oh my God, we got the outfit. And I'll answer
Okay,
Winter
yeah.
Gem in the meantime. How long is the speech expected to be? Do you think we will be able to tell if he's wickedly off script? 100%. This is actually one of my most passionate Trump subjects of them all. I feel like I have actually studied this for so long now. You can really tell when he goes off prompter. And the main thing that sparks that typically is he'll swing his head to one side and then repeat whatever the adjective is. Oh, here we get going. You'll see what I'm talking about, and I'll put in the chat when it happens.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I think there's a lot of people out there who bet on what color tie he's wearing. This is a tie I've never seen from him before. Purple and pattern. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. Will be interesting to see if there are any Democrats lined up along this side to encounter him, the way that Marjorie Taylor Greene was for Joe Biden.
I gotta say, something that struck me earlier today. So apparently a lot of these Republicans got there at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Camping out with a 10. Yeah.
I think if you really wanted to like do something wild on that, that's Marcy Kaptur right there.
Yeah.
In the aqua. She represents, I believe, the reddest districts of any Democrat.
Really?
Either the first or the second.
Whoa! Who was that?
That is, I think that's Melanie Stansbury from...
Oh, is from New Mexico.
From New Mexico.
That's shout out to my mom. That's my mom's girl.
How effective is that
and
messaging?
he ripped the sign from her hands
Oh, I missed
and
that.
threw it. Whoa! Sorry, I'm like, that was kind of crazy. I just didn't expect that. That was a very quiet. I mean, listen, I have my note cards here to put up notes for you guys too as he's talking, but didn't expect to see my strategy reflected in the House chamber tonight. Yeah, she is stone-faced right now.
We're rewatching it.
So
just
she
the
came
two
in
of
with
us.
a sign.
He's
This
making a
is
little
not
joke.
normal. Wow. Can she suffer any type of consequences for doing something like that? Can they censure her? Will they?
They could.
It'd be wild.
I don't think that they will. I mean, censure? It would be wild. Also, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene is wearing a campaign hat. You know, what is what, you know, at this point.
Yeah. I really don't know.
I mean, here's the thing that I'm curious if I mean, what did everybody think about that? You think is that effective? Is that interesting? Here's the thing that I'm reminded of is a former Pete Buttigieg used to say, not to like, he didn't originate this or anything, but he used to say Donald Trump was elected because normal broke. Which I think is a good way to put it. For a lot of people, normal has been broken. So this being not normal is a feature, not a bug for some people.
It was a deliberate choice.
Now, does it mean that's wrong? Or I don't know. I just think that's something to ruminate on.
And we've watched what a lot of people would consider, not even a lot, it's true, the absolute breaking of a lot of these agencies, a lot of the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Deliberately. That's part of what Elon Musk is here for. I love that green belted jacket, just have to say. He looks fly.
Military jacket?
Yeah. Oh, we got excerpts released from the White House. Well, why don't you drop a couple of them in? Tell us what to expect.
You got a USA channel? That was
Trump
my one
was
question.
right about everything. That's a new one. I haven't seen that hat.
So Trump did not rip the
guy
sign.
here.
What I'm seeing is Representative Lance Gooden of Texas did. All right, so before we get into the meat and potatoes here, we think it'll probably be about 40 minutes or so. We're going to stick with you through it. What?
It's going to be about an hour.
Bet. That's my bet. And then
beat it out.
afterwards, remember, Senator Alyssa Slotkin will be giving the response. We'll be checking in as things go, but so feel free to throw any questions, comments, concerns, hot takes.
We want to hear from you. We'll be putting stuff in the chat. I'll be writing notes to you guys right here of like, the actual number is blah, blah, blah. If I know any of the numbers, we'll see. Democrats not clapping. This could be a very long standing ovation. They do typically kind of start to wind down and then pick back up again. You will see a lot of people checking their phones. That was one of the things that I noticed about 2017.
Checking their phones?
Oh, yeah. Scrolling the phone. Democrats, big time.
Wow, no attention spans anymore.
Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, a one-shoulder dress. Do you think that's maybe the first time
I saw that too.
that's been seen?
Well, actually, yeah, because until like 5 years ago, women weren't allowed to
That's
show their
good.
shoulders
Yeah.
on the congressional floor.
Yeah.
Which
Thank you very much.
Here we go.
Thank you very much.
and here we go.
It's a great honor. Thank you very much. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, the First Lady of the United States. Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back.
Oh, big cheer, big cheer.
Six weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it.
So already, I'm just going to throw out. This is noticeably less
presidential
energy
election
than we've
of
seen
November
from him
5th
in the past.
Was a mandate
And that was an
like has
ad-lib.
not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes. We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
So there's a big interruption, a little fracas.
Whoa!
Oh, Al Green standing.
Whoa! That's Congressman Al Green, who famously filed impeachment charges against Trump the first back in 2017.
counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican.
So
This
he's
is
going to get a
wild.
little feisty.
I mean, this is wild.
Now,
Yeah.
for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever.
JD Vance looks like he wants to throw hands right now, but I'm not sure he's ever thrown hands before.
Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded.
Wow.
A 41-point
They're going to
jump.
interrupt
I mean,
him.
this is a total breaking.
Yeah.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the
Has
chair
this ever
is
happened?
prepared to direct
This
the
is-
sergeant at arms to restore
I have
order
never
to the
seen
joint
something like
session.
this. I mean, you famously saw Obama get interrupted with "You lie"
One time,
about,
yes.
and that wasn't even a State of the Union. That was just an address about healthcare, and that was shocking then. I mean, we've never seen anything like this.
I mean, it's a
Mr. Green,
standoff.
Take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat.
JD
Finding
Vance
that
saying
members
get him
continue
out.
to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the
He's
sergeant at
pissed.
arms to restore order.
He's getting removed.
Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
The Democrats look a little uncomfortable.
I mean, here's the thing. Like we said before, there was literally an insurrection in this chamber.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, you can't, like, the system is broken.
Any lip readers in the chat that can tell us what he's saying? Here he goes again. Wow. You'd think that his side would stand up and
Members
applaud
are
him on the way
directed
out.
to uphold and maintain decorum in the House.
I don't think that that was in
Brendan,
Hakeem
take-
Jeffries'
Thank you.
plan.
That's
Over the
for
past
sure.
6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400
Do you think there's gonna be
executive
someone else?
actions, a record
Oh, yeah.
to restore common
He
sense,
wouldn't-
safety,
not the last.
optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it.
Chad, how do we feel about that? I mean, I think Robin makes a good point.
Hated
In
it.
fact,
Tyler
it has
G,
been
tell us
stated by
more.
many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many.
Okay, we've got a
What
whiteboard.
makes
We've
it
got
even
true,
more
false,
impressive is that
yelling.
you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that? I don't know about that list, but
See,
but
that's
we'll
an
take
ad
it.
lib. That
Within
How about
hours
that? How
of
about that?
taking
How about
the
that
oath
list?
of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and border patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison,
Oh.
under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history. There were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums,
Getting
were
a
released
Hannibal
into our
Lecter
country.
remix.
Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
I mean, suffice it to be said, that was not true for the first. There were, in fact, a lot of standing ovations. But this is, it's not, who really cares?
So
at the end of the day?
Democrats
But,
sitting
like,
before me,
Me,
just this one
when
night,
do you
why not join
speak
us
out
in celebrating
directly
so
at them?
many
There's
incredible wins
nothing
for
I can do to make
America?
you losers, haters happy.
For the good
Just-
of our nation,
that's what we're here for?
let's work together and let's
Right.
truly make America great again.
She must be beside herself, Nancy Pelosi. What has this come to? So
Every
petty,
day my
landlocked lover.
administration is fighting
Agreed.
to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid.
Except the $4 billion that was just sent to Israel.
It's true. And allegedly, Ukraine was supposed to be unfrozen by
I
Marco Rubio.
terminated the
There's an interesting
ridiculous
story about
Green New
this, but he
Scam.
was overridden.
I withdrew
by
from the unfair
Doge,
Paris
which is
Climate
interesting.
Accord, which was costing us
He's suffering.
trillions
Marco
of
Rubio
dollars
is suffering right now.
that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction. To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations
10?
must be eliminated.
So he said this
Just
in
like I did
2017.
in my very
He said every
successful
one
first
regulation, 2 needed to be eliminated. 10 is one giant leap for mankind from 2.
And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job.
That feels like a softer clap than maybe some of the other things.
Yeah, I don't think that's
that were.
That's actually really interesting microcosm.
I know.
It's much
Whereas an
more
example, a
passionate
sitting
for the people in the
president
room.
is
Be
allowed
like,
to
screw those people over there,
viciously
then
prosecute
here's
his
the boring,
political opponent,
mundane
like me.
substance
Federal
of
workers
government.
who've
How did that
50
work
years
out?
been working there.
Yeah.
Not too good.
Okay, here's the improv show, stand-up special.
And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an
Right
order
after they
making
haul
English the
Al Green
official
out.
language.
Free speech is back.
Honestly.
See ya, Al Green.
I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And likewise, I renamed for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again.
This is actually a helpful primer of
Beautiful
everything that
Alaska.
has happened in the past 2 months for anybody that might have been a little tuned out. Or
Yeah,
not
truly.
The tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important.
I mean, this is for the base, by the base, of the base speech, which,
It's not
You should
for
be
anyone
hired
else.
yeah, I mean,
based
obviously
on
some of these things
merit.
are
And the
popular
Supreme
with real
Court,
voters,
in
and
a
that's something
brave and
Democrats
very
should reckon
powerful
with.
decision, has
Affirmative
allowed us
action
to
is
do
not
so.
popular
Thank
with
you.
a lot of
Thank you very
voters.
much.
And the theory, the idea
We
of
have
cutting spending
removed
is
the poison
popular.
of critical race theory from our public schools.
But
and
something
I
like
signed
that,
an order making it the
like we have polling on this. A
official
lot of normal
policy
people
of
are
the
just like,
United States
what are you talking
government
about?
that there are only two
I don't know.
genders, male and female.
Gonna get a shot of Nancy Mace here, I assume.
Or Riley Gaines.
I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports.
Rosetta Stone, what do you think about Trump's tweet about the illegal protests happening at college campuses? Some of the things that I'm like, is this what
3
he
years
needs to be
ago,
focusing
Peyton
on
McNabb
today?
was an all-star
When the
I
Dow
haven't
was
high
seen
school
down.
athlete, one
Haven't
of the
seen that.
best,
Couldn't tell
preparing
you.
for a future in college sports.
Oh.
But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side, and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team, or they will lose all federal funding.
And just to, throw in two things here. Number one, like it or not, fair or not, whatever, Trump's position here, infinitely more popular than the other. But second, the only way to enforce this national standard on trans girls in sports, already a very small issue statistically, is via the federal education department, So, that is an unintended consequence of something
And if
like
you really want to
eliminating it.
see numbers,
Truly.
just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record by 5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer. What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never. Never going to let that happen. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare.
Interesting, considering how
Their
the Dow
policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this.
I'm pretty sure they're sure.
Make America affordable again.
These are verifiable numbers.
Experts are divided. The academics are still divided.
The guy on the corner in the bodega said he didn't know, so it feels like they didn't know.
Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control.
They're higher now
and we're working hard
than they were when he took office.
Which the president can't control egg prices. You know, no matter who the president is.
From the previous administration, do a good job.
I mean, one thing I'm noticing. I mean, he said his predecessor's name here more times than I don't know who that is.
I don't know either.
A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy.
Yeah,
the previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%.
If Biden were still awake right now, I think he'd probably be like,
slowed
why
pipeline
are you so
construction
obsessed with
to a
me?
halt and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now.
I think we're watching. I think that was the Secretary of
and frankly, we have
Energy
never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill.
I mean, again, worth emphasizing, a complaint from a lot of environmental groups during Biden's presidency was that drilling for oil and gas
is also working
reached
on
higher
a
levels than any time in American history.
Pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA.
Let's get a vibe check in the chat. What's one word?
To further combat inflation,
you would use to describe
we will not
the
only
vibe
be reducing the cost of energy, but we'll be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars.
This is really what I'm here to listen to.
Sorry?
This is really what I'm here to listen
Mineral
to.
rights?
No,
And to that end, I have created the
taxpayer
brand new
dollars.
Department
Waste.
of Government Efficiency.
Here we go.
Doge.
Here we
Perhaps
go.
you've heard of it. Perhaps.
He got a haircut.
You did?
Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
Yelling. Yelling. See, on the phone. She's talking shit on the timeline right now.
Apparently, Nancy Mace has been
He's working
live
very
tweeting.
hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe.
Even appreciates
They
Doge?
just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+.
Nailed those
In the
letters.
African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of.
Not how you pronounce that, for
$60
the
million
record.
for
Lesotho.
indigenous
tell ya.
peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $32
I'm gonna look that up,
million for a
actually.
left-wing
Please.
propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee,
Well, I mean,
headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named
who's involved?
Stacey Abrams. Have you
Oh,
ever heard
wow.
of her?
Not her getting a shout, my best performing YouTube video
$3.5
ever.
million
It's funny,
consulting
Stacey
contract
Abrams gave
for
the Democratic
lavish
response
fish
in 2019.
monitoring.
And
$1.5 million
6 years
for
later,
voter confidence
she's back.
in Liberia. $14 million
I mean,
for
what he's listing
social
off here,
cohesion
we should
in
take
Mali.
seriously, as this is why a lot of
$59
Americans
million
don't like
for
foreign aid.
illegal
Of
alien
course, it
hotel
adds up
rooms
to a
in
very
New
small
York
part of the
City.
budget, which is factual. But all this money, together,
These
for a
are
lot of
real
people
estate
out there, they
developers doing
say
very well.
that would be life-changing for me to have a chunk of that $8 million
to
or
increase
whatever.
vegan local climate action innovation.
What
in
I think is
Zambia.
lost in the mix here is just because this
$42
aid
million
is
for social
cut
and
does not mean
behavior
that
change
that
in
money
Uganda.
is lining people's pockets.
$14 million
Unless
for
they do
improving
come through
public
with that
procurement in
strategy
Serbia.
to send
You mean sending
checks.
checks back to
$47
people?
million
Yeah,
for
which
improving
is
learning
not going to happen. You
outcomes
heard it
in
here first.
Asia.
And of course, lost in it too is
Asia's
that
doing
one of the
very
men sitting
well
behind
with
him, Mike
learning.
Johnson, his Secretary of
know what we're
State,
doing.
members of his
Use
cabinet,
it ourselves.
are people who've been
And
strong advocates
$101
for exactly the
million
kind of
for
programs
DEI
that Trump
contracts
is
at the Department
talking
of
about here.
Education, the most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud.
He's wondering to stand or not stand there, yeah. Just to add on to this, what I just put in the chat, there is a database where Doge publishes their records keeping, the contracts that they're eliminating, but it's
And
been
we've
riddled
taken
with
back the
errors.
money and reduced our debt to fight inflation and other things.
I do
Took
want
back a
to
lot of that money. We got it
note
just
here,
in
the
time.
White House publicly and
This is
repeatedly
just the
said
beginning.
and has argued in court
The
that the
government
head of Doge
accountability
is
office,
a woman
federal
named Amy
government
Gleason,
office, has estimated
who it appears
annual
is
fraud of
not-
over
Is she there?
at
$500
the
billion
address,
in our
which
nation.
is a little curious.
And we are working very hard to stop it. We're
Feels
going
like it's
to.
Elon.
We're also
No matter what they
identifying
say.
shocking
I don't know.
levels of
They're hiding my
incompetence and
girl Amy
probable
from
fraud
me.
in the social
Got somebody in the
security
chat saying
program
release the Epstein
for our
files.
seniors,
I agree.
and that our seniors
I don't think they exist.
and people that we
but
love rely on.
would like to see
Believe
them.
it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139.
So, I mean, just to add a little context here, part of what's
3.5
being
million
done here
people
is
from ages
there is no way to reduce the federal
140
deficit without
to
talking about
149.
benefits
And money is being
to
paid to
Social
many
Security,
of them.
Medicare, and Medicaid recipients.
And we're
We actually
searching
did a
right
really
now.
good episode of
Fact,
our show on
Pam,
here, Margin of
good
Error, if I can say
Good
so
luck.
myself,
You're gonna
that
find
dives
it.
into just
But a lot
how
of money is paid
impossible
out
it is
to
to cut
people
spending or cut the
because
deficit
it just
without
keeps
addressing those
getting
programs.
paid and nobody does. And it
part of the
really
motivation
hurts
here is
Social
pretending that you
Security.
can
It hurts
actually
our country.
do this
1.3
through fraud or
million
waste or
people
whatever.
from
And it's just
ages
impossible.
Fraud, waste, and
And
abuse.
abuse, yeah,
to
the big three.
159
Their catchphrase.
and
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
130,000
And it's just not possible.
people, according
No, you
to
can say
the
we shouldn't cut those programs,
Social
but
Security
if you do that,
databases
you
are
do have to reckon
aged
with you're not going to cut
over
spending.
160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby.
People paying 160 years old Social Security. We have a healthier country than we thought, Bobby.
Yeah.
Do you think he even registered? Because he's usually kind of zoning out
Including
until he pops back in.
Kennedy?
Finished
Yeah.
1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229. One person between the age of 240 and 249. And one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years. More than 100 years older than our country.
This is
But we're going to find out where that money's going.
This has largely
And
been
it's not gonna be pretty.
disproven.
By slashing all
That
of
people
the fraud,
that are
waste, and
300 years
theft
old
we
are
can
collecting
find, we will defeat inflation,
Social Security
bring down mortgage
checks.
rates,
It's really,
lower car
really not
payments,
happening.
and grocery prices,
It's what? What'd you
protect
say,
our
sorry?
seniors, and put
It's not
more money
happening.
in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
pockets
of course,
of
there's
American
always
families.
fraud. What population-wise, are we third after India and China? I think we might be.
Probably.
Probably. Over under. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to run an enormous
And
bureaucracy
today,
for a
interest
country of
rates
350
took a
million
beautiful
people.
drop.
There's going to be
Big,
fraud,
beautiful
but
drop.
like
It's about time.
that's in
And in
the
the
billions, maybe.
near
And we're
future,
talking
I want to
trillions and
do what
trillions
has
of
not been
dollars.
done in 24
deficits.
years.
Just talk about
Balance the
deficits.
federal
So
budget.
it is,
We're gonna balance
it's interesting that he's we just said we're going to balance the federal budget. I mean,
Not
it's just
gonna
not
happen.
happening. I mean, it's just not happening.
Yeah,
I hate to
wishful
break it to you.
thinking.
If you wanted to balance it even in 4 years, you would probably have to make enough cuts that you would induce a recession. Which again, click on that video above you to see all of that. I think we did
With
a great
that
job
goal
with
in
that.
mind, we have developed in great detail what
Somebody
we are
said, "Not me,"
calling
thinking he
the
said
Gold
Poppy.
Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success.
He
for
just spit something
a
onto his
company
arm.
out
Oh,
there.
God.
So while we take
Holy
out
fuck.
the criminals, killers,
watch it.
traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the
Oh,
open border
no.
policy of these people.
I mean, look,
the
he's an
Democrats,
80-year-old
the
man.
Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our
This
country.
is ad-libbed.
We will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money. Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by pioneers and risk takers now drowns under millions and millions of pages of regulations, and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again. And any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately.
So it's
Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over.
it's kind of up in the air how legal it is for him to remove somebody from an agency head without cause, just for political reasons. The court will probably be deciding on that soon.
Yeah.
And the
There was a good
next
Politico
phase of
piece
our
about
plan
how
to deliver
he's
the
going to talk
greatest
to
economy
about
in
how the
history
real
is
audience
for
that will
this
determine his
Congress
agenda
to
in this
pass
chamber
tax
is not
cuts
Congress,
for
but the court.
everybody. They're
Yes.
in there. They're waiting
The court
for you
has
to
a
vote.
lot of latitude,
And I'm
or
sure
not a lot
that
of
the
latitude,
people
a
on
lot of
my
decisions
right,
to make on
I
stuff
don't mean
like that.
the Republican
On
right,
expanding the
but my
executive
right
branch.
right here. I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax.
Chad, are these signs working for you? The false, the save
curious.
veterans?
Yeah.
Like, I think, you look at that and they're still not aligned on the sign that they're holding up.
I mean,
I get that
Yeah.
that's the point, but
It's a very, very big part of our plan.
Wanna see
Rashida
one
Tlaib,
message.
Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib apparently has a whiteboard that she keeps changing the message on,
I like that.
which is interesting.
And to get
She did that for
urgently needed
Netanyahu's
relief
speech,
to
too.
Well, she held the
Americans
little
hit especially
thing, which is
hard
where
by
they
inflation.
apparently got this idea,
I'm
which is
calling
interesting
for
given
no tax
she was
on
quite
tips,
marginalized
no
for that
tax on
choice, and is
overtime,
now
and no
Yeah.
tax
kind of the
on
blueprint for
Social Security
everyone else.
benefits for our great seniors.
So we're in the tax cut portion here.
which the taxes on tips and overtime were not passed in the budget framework
And I also
or weren't recommended in the budget
want to
framework
make
that the House
interest
passed
payments
last week.
on car loans.
Yeah, there
tax
was no
deductible,
actual
but only if the car
substance in
is
that, yeah.
So
made in
remains to be
America.
seen.
And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three, the top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world.
This is true. Honda did just announce this. They will move their production of the Civic to Indiana from Mexico because of the tariffs.
And this
How do you
has
feel?
taken place
You gonna buy a
since our
Civic?
My mom
great
had one in
victory
high school.
November 5th,
I don't
Great
know what
car.
Civic
which will
is, I gotta
hopefully go
say.
down as
I'm
one
a
of the
Toyota
most
guy.
Every
important
time someone
in the
I'm
history
calling
of our
Uber with
country.
is like, oh, it's a Honda Civic. I'm like, you might as well be speaking Egyptian to me.
Yeah.
In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country. First term. We had a great first term.
That's a great OG recount video that claim was debunked. It was not true that we had the greatest
If you
economy
don't make
in
your
the history
product
of
in
the
America,
world.
however,
bit of a
under the
subjective
Trump
claim, too,
administration,
you know.
you will
Hard to
pay a
measure.
tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher
every time I look at a map.
What's our time check? Let me check how long into this we are.
India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them.
40 minutes or so.
And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea, but that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was, and so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't.
Because he's superstitious.
Of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd,
I literally knew this.
Reciprocal tariffs kick in.
Isn't that weird?
And whatever they tariff us, other countries.
Forget the fact that he's president as a human being.
It's reciprocal back and
Such
forth.
a weirdo, like on so many levels. Superstitious.
Yeah, I mean, he's a sober New York. Loves a lot of like traditionally.
To keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before.
We're starting to do this in
I did it with China, did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada. But we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer.
We
Thanks
haven't
to our America First
standing
policies we're
ovation
putting
in a bit.
into place, we have had
falling off
$1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced
does she really need to be in it? No, why am I in it?
Investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA.
Reluctant stand up, looking a little lethargic.
And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars.
I mean, truly,
and it doesn't
would
mean
the right
anything.
move
They
for
take
Democrats
our money
have
and they
been
don't
to
spend it.
chant enough to prevent him from delivering the speech? You know,
no money.
like if you're a Democrat,
have every single one carried out. Yes.
Tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many
and
other
like delay it
companies are
until
coming.
midnight or
We don't
until
have to give them
he
money.
can't like.
We just want to protect our
I don't know.
businesses.
I mean,
and our people,
I
and they will come because
maybe
they won't
some
have
folks
to pay
have thoughts on
tariffs
that,
if
but,
they build
you know,
in America.
from their
So
perspective,
it's very amazing. You should get
you
rid of
truly
the
believe
Chip
this
Act
is, you
and
know,
whatever's
the
left
shredding
over,
of the democracy,
Mr. Speaker,
the
you
fall
should
of the
use it
liberal
to reduce
republic.
debt.
I don't know. I don't know what the
Any
right
other
word is.
reason you want to.
I feel that way.
It's easy to criticize. It's harder to give specific things, but I don't know.
Yeah, I thought Al Green was going to be Saducean here, like a cascade of
Other people every
people,
time,
then
yeah.
one by one, just every minute. It's
Our
getting
new trade
interrupted.
policy
No
will also be
momentum.
great for the American
Pissing him
farmer.
off.
I love the farmer.
No. They're too afraid of
Who will
pissing
now be
off
selling
donors.
Into
I
our
love
home
the
market,
farm.
the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you. Because there's goods that come in from other countries and companies, they're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in, and they hurt our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers
Dirty
starting
and
on April
disgusting.
2nd. It may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me.
Yeah, this is
again,
off
and this will
prompter,
be even
needless
better.
to
That
say.
was great.
Looking
the
straight
problem
ahead.
with it was that Biden didn't enforce it.
I mean,
He
this
didn't enforce it.
language,
$50 billion of
adjustment
purchases.
period, bear with
We were
me.
doing great,
I mean,
but
this
Biden
is
did not enforce
how
it,
you talk about
and it hurt our
potential
farmers,
price
but
increases.
our
You know,
farmers
That's
are
him
gonna
saying,
have a
I know
field
it's
day right
bad.
now, so
Keep
to
your
our
seatbelt buckled.
or
farmers,
yeah, we're gonna go
have
through
a
some
lot of
turbulence,
fun.
whatever.
I
Yeah.
love
And
you
granted,
too.
that is
I
the
love
case
you
for a
too.
lot of good policies. Sometimes you
We're
have to
gonna
have like, a little adjustment period.
Sure.
However, I don't know if that is what polls show. People are not
And
thrilled
I've also
for
imposed
adjustment
Oh, he's
a
asleep.
25% tariff
Peter
on
Welch right
foreign
there.
aluminum,
Seems to be
copper,
asleep.
lumber, and
Sleeping.
steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard.
Is it Decatur in Georgia?
Has been working at the
DeKalb.
same steel plant for 27 years in a job
Decatur's
that
in
has
Georgia.
allowed him to serve as the captain
TCATUR, right?
of his local volunteer fire department,
Okay,
raised
there's
7
Decatur in
children with
Alabama.
his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Winter Gem, you and me both. Like, I'm
Thank
truly
you, Jen.
rooting for the country. I'm rooting for the economy. I would love to see this be successful and win.
Stories like
can
Jeff's
easily say
remind
that.
us that tariffs are not just about
see.
protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much.
A
No,
little
you're not.
disturbance. Bear with me. Adjustment period. I
And
mean, if I
and
were
look
out there,
where Biden took us,
maybe
very
doing
low, the
something,
lowest
putting
we've
all
ever
those
been.
together.
Jeff, I want to thank you very much. And I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster
That might be a
care
good idea for
community. She works so
I don't
hard
know,
on it.
a company out
very
there.
loving person. Our magnificent.
Another notable thing here,
First
we're about
Lady of the
45
United
minutes
States.
into this. These are the first. Actually, sorry, he mentioned the girl with the sports before. So,
Yeah.
but usually you see these more peppered in, and this is only the second and third time he's done this.
Ooh, crowd shot. Grief.
Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by 2 impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher, and Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John.
And I believe we're talking about efforts to ban revenge porn, deepfake,
Thank you all very much.
AI.
Which is good.
Yeah.
On the record.
Thank
Scared
you.
for young women
Which
right now.
I did not
Thank
know
you
that
to
was.
John
It seems like
Thune
that's
and
going to
the
be
Senate.
Melania's cause
Yeah.
in
Great job
this
Yeah.
to
term.
criminalize
which
the
I think is
publication of
something we
such
can all get behind.
images
Yeah.
online is terrible, terrible thing. And once it passes the House, I look forward to signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you. But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast. And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, well, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to.
The energy is definitely trailing off.
A brilliant 22-year-old
I mean,
nursing
I'm a
student
Diet
named
Coke and a Celsius in,
Laken Riley,
and
the best
it's
in her
challenging
class,
those. Both of those are
admired by
having their
everybody,
resolve challenged
went out
right
for
now.
a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren.
The passage of the Laken-Riley Act was bipartisan, so it will be interesting to see if Democrats stand and clap for her family who's here.
No, interesting. Yeah.
See, that to me is a moment where it's like, you voted for it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Mark Kelly
yeah.
definitely did. It was clapping
Last
there.
year, I told Laken's grieving parents that we would ensure that her would not
Laken
have
Riley
died
was a
in
topic
vain.
of discussion at
That's
last
why
year's State of the Union,
the very
too.
Yes.
first
remember?
bill I
Because
signed into
Marjorie
law
Marjorie
as
Taylor Greene handed Biden a button,
your 47th
and she interrupted
president
him halfway
mandates
through,
the
and he held
detention
up a
of all
little
dangerous criminal
button.
aliens who threaten public safety.
And really a symbol
It's a
of
very strong, powerful act.
how much the politics of immigration have shifted to the right over the past few years towards Republicans.
Yeah, veggies and fruit going to be a little up in price these days.
It's called the Laken-Riley Act. So Allison and Lauren, America will never, ever forget our beautiful Laken Hope Riley. Thank you very much. Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
Well, don't Senate Republicans want to pass the immigration border funding first? Isn't that the whole thing with the budget? He wants the clean bill, but Senate Republicans want to.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a divide between Senate and House Republicans. Some want to pass an immigration and energy
Joe
bill
Biden
first.
didn't
Some want to
just
pass a
open
budget.
our borders, he
They
flew
still haven't quite
illegal
figured it out.
aliens over them
Yeah.
to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungary from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn,
You're good.
walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped,
All right, let's
tied
check
up,
on time
assaulted
here.
for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are 2 illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl,
Knocking on
and
an
the
hour right now.
agony of her mother and family.
His past
touched
ones were
our
usually
entire
around an
nation
hour
greatly.
20. So we might
Alexis,
have
I
20 more
promised
minutes.
that
Thank
we
you for
would
being here with
always
us.
Remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter. And earlier tonight, I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order?
Oh, he's going to sign it. Oh, this is an interesting stunt.
And remember during one of his first terms, he gave Rush Limbaugh? Yeah, Rush
Yes.
Limbaugh the Medal of Freedom, right? During. So he's a fan of these, big, stunty things. What exactly is he signing? Sorry, I did an executive
Renaming
order.
an animal sanctuary
All
after her
3
daughter who was
savages
murdered.
charged
It's
with
very nice.
That's sweet.
Jocelyn and Lakin's
I like that.
murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations.
This tweet I feel like is quite interesting. From Jonathan Martin at Politico, that there's more obvious
They
enthusiasm
are
from
now
Trump and
officially in the
Republicans
same
about
category
trans
as
sports
ISIS,
stuff than
and
about
that's not good
inflation,
for them.
even though most voters care a lot more
Countless
about
thousands
inflation,
of these
which
terrorists were
feels pretty
welcomed
obvious.
into the U.S.
The
by
trans
the
callouts
Biden
were at the beginning of the
administration.
speech, and
But now
inflation was
every
kind
last
of
one
buried
will
in
be
the
rounded
middle.
up
Yeah.
and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too
A
dangerous,
choice.
put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want them to come back ever. With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle, Border Patrol Agent Roberto Ortiz. Great guy. In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed gunmen started shooting at them, Roberto saw that his partner was totally exposed, in great danger, and he leapt into action, returning fire and providing crucial seconds
It's
for
a member
his
of the
fellow
Border Patrol,
agent to
I believe.
seek safety, just barely.
It's a lot of research
I have some of the
about 2020 and 2024
prints of
showing that
event, and it
even
was not
within the
good.
communities
Agent
that
Ortiz,
are
we
near the
salute you
border,
for your great courage
towns and neighborhoods where a lot of
your
Border
line
Patrol
fire that
members
you took,
live
and for the
swung
bravery that you
even
showed.
more
We
towards
honor you, and we
Republicans
will
than,
always honor you. Thank you, Roberto, very
other
much.
areas. And remember, the Border Patrol is, I believe, majority non-white members, or at least significantly.
Really?
So a lot of folks who are on the front lines and who are, many of whom are Latino or non-white themselves, who are very receptive to this kind of message on immigration, which is worth keeping in mind.
And I actually got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war in America, and it's time
AP
for
feed is a
America
little
to wage
glitchy
war
for
on
us.
the
The
cartels.
sound is a
which
bit
we
off. Apologize. B asks, has he talked about any future plans besides what we know already? He's losing my attention. Really kind of just a review of where things stand right now,
5
in my
nights ago,
opinion. There's no
Mexican
directives
authorities,
really handed
because
out.
of our tariff policies.
Yeah, I think
being
that's an
imposed on
interesting
them.
point,
Think of
actually.
this.
I think part of why we don't
Handed
have a lot of
over to
specifics
us
is
29
I mean, this
of
is
the
always kind
biggest
of the case
cartel
with
leaders in their country.
president's
That
agendas
has
is
never
what can
happened
I actually
before. They
pass
wanna make
in
us happy.
Congress?
Yeah.
Oh, and then
First time ever.
pretend as if that's what I wanted all along and it's the best
Right.
legislation ever.
But we need
which was true
Mexico
under
and Canada
Biden, whatever.
to do much
But
more
Biden
than
used
they've
his
done,
first
and
address
they have to
in
stop
April
the
of
fentanyl and drugs pouring
2021
into
to
the
launch the
USA.
American
They're gonna
Families
stop
Plan,
it.
which would become
I have sent
the Build
Congress
Back
a
Better Act,
detailed
which later
funding
became
request
became
laying
the
out
Inflation Reduction
exactly
Act.
how we will
So he
eliminate
did.
these
Biden
threats
actually was
to
very specific with
protect
his
our
plans,
homeland
but
and complete the
maybe they're
largest
chastened by
deportation
Biden's
operation in
experience
American
of
history,
watching plans
larger
die,
Yeah.
even than current record holder President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a moderate man, but someone who believed very strongly.
Chad, how bad is the
in borders.
misalignment between his
Americans
mouth
expect
and the
Congress
sound?
to send
I'm
me
wondering if it's just
this
on our
funding
end.
without delay so I can sign it into law. So, Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it.
I mean, it's the whole ball game what he's talking about here, right?
Yeah.
And as we reclaim our sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns.
I saw somebody say, this is still not as long as Adrian
recent
Brody's
years,
speech at the Oscars.
Our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me.
I mean,
My
is it-
administration has acted swiftly
are we having
and
huge sound
decisively
issues, y'all?
to restore fair, equal,
Couple of
and
seconds
impartial
ago.
justice under
had
the
this whole
constitutional
conversation
rule
with
of
them.
law, starting
It's
at
not
the
that bad.
FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be,
Pam,
good luck. Good luck. Pam,
Pam
Bondi.
Cash. That's the Attorney General and
Good luck.
the Director of the
So
FBI.
Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you.
Cash Patel.
Thank you,
I did
Cash.
a lively reading of his children's book about an evil woman named Hillary Queenton.
Hillary Queenton, yeah. Which, why not
They've
Queen
already
Hillary?
started
I
very
guess,
strong. They're
you
going to
know?
do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them.
No idea.
We're also once again
a
giving
little bit
our
like in
police
Parks and
officers
Recreation
the support,
when
protection, and
Chris,
respect
whatever
they
his character
so
is, like, I'm Burt
dearly
Macklin,
deserve.
and I'm
They have to get it. They have
Kurt
such
Haplin,
a
and someone's like,
hard,
why would they have the
dangerous
same
job,
last
but we're gonna
name
make
or
it less
whatever?
dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and we'll never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice.
Let's reload it. How about it? We're just gonna see if we can fix it. Ooh! Imagine the whole thing just poops out. That'd be so bad.
Old New York police officer Jonathan Diller.
Look at that.
I need
unbelievably
Elon's t-shirt,
wonderful
tech support.
person
Tech
and a
support,
great
yeah.
officer. Was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to.
So
his
let us
funeral.
know if this fixed the
The
issue.
vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer
Like, was it necessary to ad-lib
Diller's
right there?
service, and when I met his wife and one-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational, actually. His widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Stephanie, we're going to make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, and we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer, and tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law.
Yeah, landlocked lover here sucks to dedicate the time to try to stay informed. That's a really interesting point, that I think there's a lot of people here who wanted to learn something about his vision, his philosophy, reason for the actions,
for a new crime bill getting
the future,
tough on repeat offenders,
and that's just really
while
not
enhancing protections for
you can take
America's
away
police
from this
officers,
speech.
so they can do their jobs
Yeah,
without
I mean, I guess
fear of their lives being
there are
totally
things we could take away
destroyed.
from this that
They
you can
don't
become
want to be
informed
killed.
by.
We're not
The
going to
thing-
let them be killed.
Let's actually pause.
Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man
Well, that was
who
a
truly
short-lived
loves our police.
objection.
His name is DJ
I mean, the things I
Daniel.
think
He
that
is
you could take
13
away
years
are
old, and he has always
What
dreamed
animates
of
and what unites
becoming a police
Republicans are
officer.
cultural issues.
Yes. Law enforcement.
Law enforcement, immigration,
That's
January
true.
6th, because those are also issues that poll the best. Where there's a lot of division is budgetary stuff, and that is why reconciliation is going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to parse through. I totally get that.
Okay, we're doing Lion King now.
But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago.
I mean, this is part of the challenge we were talking about. Like, if you show up to the State of the Union,
Since
it's really
that time,
difficult to sit there
DJ and his
stone-faced,
dad have
arms
been
crossed.
on a
This is not
quest to
normal
make
when
his
there's
dream
something
come
like this.
true,
Yes.
and DJ has been
Deserves
sworn
to be
in
clapped for.
as an honorary law enforcement officer. Actually, a number of times. The police love him. The police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Oh. Yay! Oh, here he goes again. This is interesting. And you know what? It looks bad on the Democrats for not
Thank you, DJ.
clapping for that.
Yeah, I mean,
DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger.
Oh, wow.
Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
I mean, here it's always worth remembering. Talking like that about childhood cancer being caused by chemicals put into us by corporations, that is something that, like, the most wacky, pink-haired, blue-haired liberals in your life or at your Thanksgiving table or in Congress have been talking about forever. And it is a remarkable
With the name Kennedy, you would have
development
thought
to see a
everybody
Republican
over here would
president
have been
talking
cheering.
like that, you know.
How quickly they forget.
And the same way a
Our
Democrat
goal
might
is
be
to
urged
get
to
toxins out
think
of our
about whether or not they were
environment,
wrong about
poisons out of our
immigration 3 or
food
4 years
supply,
ago,
and keep
now that
our
the border got out of
children
control or
healthy
whatever.
and strong.
A Republican might
As
be
an
urged
example,
to think about whether or not they were
Not
wrong about
long ago,
that kind of thing a couple
and
years
you
ago.
can't
You know?
even believe
Yeah.
these
Humility
numbers.
across the board is probably
1 in
always good.
10,000
Few and far
children
between.
had autism. 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby? Good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you.
Can remind you guys he was running for president as a Democrat a year ago at this time, and now he is.
Thank you. My
Yeah.
administration is
Secretary.
also working
Is he
to
running as an
protect our
independent?
children
Yeah, either
from
way. Running
toxic
as a liberal,
ideologies in
certainly,
our schools.
by most measures.
A few years ago, January, Littlejohn and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So again, just at multiple points through this speech, bringing up transgender issues.
Particularly, it's worth zeroing in on trans people under 18.
Yes.
Thank
Which
you.
is where public support
Stories like this are why
collapses.
shortly after
Because when it
taking
comes to
office, I
trans
signed
adults,
an executive order
supermajorities
banning
of
public
Americans
schools
support
from
protecting rights.
indoctrinating our children
when it comes to
with
protecting from discrimination,
transgender
public housing,
ideology.
accommodations, employment, what have you. When it becomes people under 18, again, morally, whether or not, whatever, it's a much different situation, which is why it's never
I
the guests
also
are not.
signed an order
This
to
person
cut off
refused to
all
rent an
taxpayer
apartment to a
funding
trans
any
man or whatever,
institution
you know.
that
Yeah.
engages
Which is,
in the
again, as
sexual
we're talking about making
mutilation
sense of the
of our
speech,
youth.
that's part of what's going on here.
Yeah, the surrealism of this,
And now I
feel
want
like we're
Congress to pass a
on
bill
Dr. Phil or
permanently banning
something.
and
Does feel very
criminalizing
character driven,
sex changes
as these
on
speeches
children
often
and
do,
forever
but
ending
this
the
is an
lie that any
elongated
child is
section
trapped
of
in the
character
wrong
building,
body.
Yeah.
narrative
This
arc.
is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
Also, a notable story we learned last year that when one of J.D. Vance's friends from law school was
Because we're getting
transitioning, I believe,
wokeness
to
out of our schools
non-binary
and out of our
received top
military,
surgery.
and
He
it's already
visited
out,
them and
it's out of
made a
our
point
society. We
to
don't
be
want
affirming
it.
of them, which, again, you could say
Wokeness
he
is
was wrong
trouble.
then and is right now.
Wokeness
But
is bad.
the turnaround
It's
is quite
gone.
notable.
Yeah.
It's gone.
To standing and
Absolutely.
applauding
We
for a
feel so
line like
much
that.
better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better? Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations.
He just ousted the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who's very well respected, long
And he's not big
tenured
into the woke movement,
general
I can tell you. I
in
know well.
favor.
I am pleased to report that
of
in
non-woke,
January, the U.S. Army had its
quote
single
him just
best
now.
recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed
That's very
services are
interesting.
having
I didn't
among
know that.
the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services.
They're
What a
so
difference.
good at not making a face, except he just, well,
Yeah, traditionally, members of the military, Supreme Court
And you know, it
justices
was
are
just
supposed to just sit
a
there
few months
and
ago-
not react.
I know, I
not
can't
do
believe
Where the
he just-
results were exactly the opposite. We couldn't recruit anywhere.
I mean, this is
We
very
couldn't
real.
recruit.
I come from a military
Now we're
family.
having
If you don't know this,
the best
the military has had
results
huge troubles recruiting
just
people
about
in the
that we've
past.
ever had.
Started
What a
really. I mean, it's been
tremendous
going on for a
turnaround.
while.
It's really a beautiful thing to see.
I don't know
People love our
what
country
the
again. It's
solution
very
is or
simple.
has been,
They
you
love
know?
our country and they
yeah,
love
what's
being
the
in our military
incentive,
again.
you know, having
So it's a
college
great
paid
thing,
for,
and thank you very much. Great job.
Yeah, I mean, economic
Yeah.
incentive is a huge thing.
Right. benefits.
I mean, it's just very. I mean, he talks about it's the best in 15 years. 15 years ago was 2009. We were still actively
joined
fighting
tonight
wars
He
back
wasn't
by a
then.
young
supposed to be
man,
there either.
Jason
Bernie?
Hartley,
Yeah.
No, he
knows
was.
the weight
No.
of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad,
Oh, Riley Young.
who was also
Army
a Los
recruiting is a
Angeles
false
County
data.
Sheriff's deputy when
It
he
has to
was just a
do
boy,
with
and now he
bonus
wants to
structures for
carry
new
on the
hires and
family
reuptake
legacy
at
of
the beginning
service.
of the year.
Jason is a senior in
Riley,
high
if
school,
you have a source to
a
that,
six-letter
I would
varsity
love to,
athlete, a really good athlete,
I'd
they
love to
say.
read on that.
A brilliant
State your
student with a
source.
4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point.
You know who went to West Point that I just discovered? Shane Gillis.
What?
He went there for a year and then dropped out. He was recruited to play football there.
Interesting. Interesting. He's one of those comedians that's, you know, friendly to Trump and then the next minute is like hating on whatever he's doing and then turns back around back and
Jason,
forth.
that's a very
like the rest
big
of
deal
them,
getting
honestly.
in. That's a hard one to get into. But I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining
wow.
the corps.
This is Oprah. Whoever said this is Dr. Phil, it's like, look
Yeah,
under
it's
your
literally
seat, a
Oprah.
college education. This is wild.
Wow.
Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredibly prestigious, it's incredibly competitive.
Oh, look at that kid.
Oh.
Wow. Wow. That's very exciting.
Thank you. Jason, you're going to be on the long gray line, Jason. As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA. And Ronald Reagan wanted to do it long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places, they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it too. Right, Tim? Right? they should have it too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very,
You're
very
getting
important.
answers in
This
the
is
chat.
a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before. To boost our defense industrial base, we are
Good. No,
also
that's good to
going
know. I
to
wasn't, for the record, I
resurrect
wasn't
the
doubting you.
American
I wanted to read more
shipbuilding
about
industry,
it.
including
So that's good.
commercial
Thanks.
shipbuilding
Take a
and
look at that later.
military shipbuilding.
When this speech is over in April, we'll read up on that.
And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon.
Are we talking? Here's my question: are we talking
Will have a
military? Or are we
huge
talking
impact. To further
industrial?
enhance our
Yachts.
national security, my administration will be
Super yachts
reclaiming
for
the
Jeff
Panama
Bezos.
Canal, and we've already
Okay,
started
no,
doing
it's for
it.
the military. I mean, what is there to say?
Just
at
today,
this
a large
point?
American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans
Couple of
for
other canals.
Americans, not for
All right, we're
others.
about
But others could use
1:15
it.
in.
Sheesh.
But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very high.
haven't
wages,
seen-
knowing there was a 25%
You haven't seen Donald Trump talk about the
chance that they would
mosquito
die.
in his interview with Tucker
The most
Carlson.
expensive project also that
it's
was
really
ever
worth a
built
watch.
in our country's history. If you
Why are
bring
we
it up
doing
to
this right
modern
now?
day
Why
costs.
is this happening
Well,
right
here's-
now?
away by
Okay,
the
this is
Carter
actually this gets to
administration for
like what does this tell
$1.
us?
Please.
But that
I was
agreement
listening
has
to a
been violated
podcast the
very
other day.
severely. We didn't
Thank
give
you.
it to China.
And
We gave it
it
to
does.
Panama,
I
we're
think
taking it
a point that was made on it that I find to be very true is I think Trump is deadly serious about the territorial expansion thing.
Yeah.
He really finds a lot of symbolism in it. He's not kidding around about the
Manifest Destiny.
manifest.
We
Yeah,
have
sure, whatever.
Marco
The whole
Rubio
thing.
in charge. Good luck, Marco.
And it vibes with Trump's
Now,
persona
we know who to
before
blame
coming
if
into
anything goes
presidency,
wrong.
right? Like the size
Well,
of the
Marco's been
building, the
amazing, and he's
grandeur of
gonna
the
do a great
foyer,
job.
whatever. Like
Think of it. He got 100
bigger, larger,
votes.
better, huger. Put your name on it. Like it's
You know,
both his
he was
politics
approved
and
with
his personal
actually
philosophy
99,
fused
but
together.
The 100th was this
That being
gentleman.
said, Panama's
and
a
I feel
country,
very
and we
certain.
don't
so
have a
let's
right
assume he got
to
100 votes. And I'm either
canal.
very, very happy
And
about
nobody
that or
came
very
here to
concerned
hear
about
about
it.
this, but that doesn't matter to him.
Well, that's the
But
thing is, I mean, this
he's
is
already
something
proven
a lot
it.
of people have been
He's a
talking
great
about.
gentleman.
Like
He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Mark.
a lot of Democrats'
He's gonna do a
mistakes over the past
fantastic
10
job.
years
Thank
was
you.
getting very interested in what a certain small
He's doing
slice
a
of
great
people on
job.
Twitter or
Right.
online were interested in, to the detriment of most Americans. And
Great job.
something like taking over the Panama Canal.
And I
is
also have a message
conservatives
tonight
doing that
for
exact
the
same
incredible
thing.
people
Right.
of
I don't know
Greenland.
if you could find an American who's like my top
We
priority was
strongly
getting the Panama
support your
Canal
right
there.
to determine your own future.
But we're here, so might as
And
well.
if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you
One
safe.
way or the other, we're going to get
We
it.
will make
It's
you
very
rich and together.
ominous.
We will take Greenland to heights like you
There
have
we
never
go.
thought
Bernie
possible
walked out.
before. It's a very small population,
Okay.
but very, very
Came in just to
large
leave.
piece of land and very,
Love to
very
watch you come in.
important
Hate to watch you leave.
military
Love
security.
to watch
America
you
is
leave.
once again standing
Whatever.
strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
Are they going to
tweeting.
Yeah, Riley, literally, Sergeant of Arms, bring him in. I literally thought that's what he was going to say.
Especially the government of Pakistan.
On his way here, I'm like, here?
This monster.
Shit.
This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them.
So Trump
Whose
is now
children were murdered, and
the longest State of the Union of all
many
time.
people that were
1
so
hour,
badly,
29
over
minutes.
42
Trump right
people
now is at 1
so
hour,
badly
25
injured
minutes.
on that
So
fateful
Oh, we're
day
going
in
well
Afghanistan.
beyond
What a
that.
it's going to be the
horrible day.
longest of all time, apparently.
Kim, I'm
Such
so
incompetence
sorry.
was
I
shown.
guaranteed you 90 minutes
That when
maximum.
Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was.
Oh, Nina
Should have
Weinstein.
never happened. Grossly incompetent people.
Ask and you shall
I
receive.
spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostages from Gaza. In my first term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords.
Yeah, dip. This is a real thing that people talk about Trump in regards to Trump about. He's got stamina. He can go for a long time. If you compare this to Biden,
And now we're going to
there would be
build
an
on
energy
that
drop.
foundation to
There's an
create
energy
a more
drop
And there
here,
was,
but
yeah.
prosperous future for the entire
it
region.
doesn't
A lot
matter
of
to
things
him.
are
He'll keep
happening
going.
in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going
Yeah, I
on
mean,
with Ukraine and Russia.
It was always the thing
A
with
lot
Trump
of
and
things
Biden,
are happening
right?
in the Middle East.
The difference
It's
in their
a
ages.
rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also
in
working
reality,
tirelessly to end the
was
savage
a lot
conflict
smaller
in
than how
Ukraine.
it looked.
Yeah.
Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly
Which is
killed
a big part of
or wounded
why
in this
he's on that
horrific and
stage
brutal
right now, and
conflict
Joe Biden is not.
with no
Yes.
end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything.
That's really light clapping there. He probably wanted to hear a lot more. And that's what that pursed lip is, Miranda Priestley style.
Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes.
He's referring to Elizabeth Warren, his longtime nickname for her. And she's clapping.
2,000
just
people are being
awkward.
killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans, but I want it to stop. Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion.
So he has used this
What a
metaphor
difference
before,
that is.
and
And
I've
we
often
have
wondered.
an ocean
We're the baby?
separating us.
Well, what scenario are
And
you
they
taking
don't-
candy from a baby?
But we're getting
you know?
along very well
When they don't
with
have
them,
teeth
and
yet.
Lots of good things are happening.
But like,
Biden
they would
has
only have the
authorized
if they're
more
a
money
baby.
in this
The only
fight
way they would
than
have it is if you gave it to them.
Europe
you know?
has spent by
It's just an interesting
billions and
metaphor
billions
choice.
No, I
of
think
dollars.
we're
It's
the
hard to
baby,
believe that
and
they
they're
wouldn't have
taking
stopped
our
it and said,
candy.
at some
I know,
point,
but
come
why
on,
does the
let's
baby have
equalize.
candy
You
to
got to
begin
be
with?
equal to us. But that didn't happen.
I think it means like
Earlier
it's like
today, I
stealing
received
cookies
an
from the cookie
important
jar.
letter
It's
from
like that kind of
President
thing. But like
Zelensky of
the
Ukraine.
baby doesn't just have pockets
The
full
letter
of candy.
reads, Ukraine
you know?
is ready to come
It'd
to
be
the
pretty- it'd be a
negotiating
dope-ass
table as
baby,
soon as
but, like-
possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time. that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready.
What?
No.
Who fell asleep at the wheel?
It seems like Hulu cutting out the Oscars.
Yeah.
Vibes a little bit right there.
Wouldn't that be beautiful? It's time to stop this madness. It's time to halt the killing. It's time to end this senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy safely back home. After 22 days in office, I did just that, and they are here tonight.
Now, will the Democrats stand for this? No. Lovely.
I mean, at this point, you got to wonder how many people in Colorado Springs who are watching this on ABC 8 or whatever are still tuned in. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, our viewership has dropped down to 60, so
Okay,
I don't blame you.
Call
guys.
attention to it.
We're doing the best we can to keep you alive with us.
To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it?
Oh, wow.
Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years.
No fucking way.
I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I? Never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do. He threw himself on top of his wife and daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body. Corey was hit really hard. You know the story from there. He sacrificed his life to save theirs. 2 others, very fine people, were also seriously hit. But thankfully, with the help of 2 great country doctors, we thought they were gone and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their 2 beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you.
Bernie Sanders, apparently on his way out, said, "My speech is going to be better." Also, this looks like one of the memes of like the chickens running, with the...
To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his 3 beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before. I believe that my life was saved that day in Boulder.
Of longest ever.
He went on at 9:18.
I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that.
135.
Thank you.
I think this is a to the point, the question I keep returning to above about, what does this tell us? You have an entire political party, a whole chamber applauding.
Thank you very much.
Divine intervention on behalf of the president, which is
God chose me.
Really that's a really, really notable thing.
The warriors who crossed the
that tells you a lot
Delaware
about the state of politics
to the
right now.
trailblazers who climbed the Rockies, and from the legends who soared at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon.
Here we go.
Americans have always been the people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers, made the most extraordinary sacrifices, and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country, because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock and soil of a perilous and very dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent.
Manifest
They
Destiny
built
is
the
literally
railroads,
talking
laid
about
the
it.
highways,
This is,
and graced the world with American
if you're not familiar,
marvels,
this is
like the
textbook
Empire State Building,
Stephen
the
Miller
mighty
writing
Hoover
right
Dam,
here. This is very
and the towering Golden
from
Gate
the amber waves
Bridge.
of grain to the
They lit
seas,
the
the
world
shining
with
sea.
electricity, broke
this is
free
really
of
a
the
vintage
force
Trump
of gravity,
speech writing.
fired up the engines of American industry, vanquished the
It's the one word he
communists,
can't pronounce.
fascists, and Marxists
vanquished?
all over the world,
Industry.
and gave us
Every
countless
single
modern
time.
wonders
Really?
sculpted out of
Industry.
iron, glass, and steel.
It's very strange.
We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age. These workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities. These warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty. And it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into
folks who are asking
space
for
and plant
specific
the
promises.
American flag on the planet Mars and even far
We're going to
beyond.
Mars, baby.
This is a perfect example of something I picked up with him too. When he's reading, his heart is not in it. This Stephen Miller stuff, he's not selling it. Like, he sells plenty of other things. This, waxing poetic is not
I would say, I mean,
Performing.
this is
we are
agree on
going to
that. This is the most
rediscover the
like
unstoppable
typical
power
State of the Union style
of the American
language.
spirit.
I mean,
And
Biden
We are
Silly.
in
going
one
to
of them
renew
was like, let's
unlimited
cure
promise
cancer,
of the American
which
dream.
is a very State
Every
of the Union
single
thing.
day
We're going to
we will
Mars.
stand
We're
up
curing cancer.
And
Yeah.
we will fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve.
Drew, welcome back. We're still here. Yeah, the Democratic side has really thinned out by this point.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless
See, like
America.
it never feels like that's the last sentence. The way that he delivers it. I thought there was going to be a couple more sentences after that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, God bless America, it's over. Damn, y'all.
We want to mute it.
Yeah,
turn down the volume.
please.
Tech whiz.
I'm like, do we need a moment of silence?
I mean, that was fascinating. I mean, look, to be clear, my reaction here mainly because I'm a strong person. But having these on my ears for what felt like 4 hours, it's a bit of a struggle. So here's what I think we're going to do. We're going to do a little bit of post-game, and then we'll wish you all good night. If you have a question, you have a comment, get it in now.
Because we're going to give you 5 more minutes.
Before the next couple minutes.
5 minutes.
Takeaway. One word.
Fuck.
One word. Whoa.
That was not my word, but maybe that. My one word would be...
Look how empty that is. Good
I
God.
know.
I mean, they're...
Scattered.
Sorry, I'm lost in the chat.
That's okay. My one word would be scattered.
Okay.
I was not following... There's usually a narrative arc.
Mm-hmm.
We're usually Aaron Sorkining
Yeah.
in a speech like this to the whole nation. And it really did feel like, okay, we're getting a little bit of trans stuff at the beginning and in the middle. And in the end, we're getting a little immigration in the beginning and in the middle and in the end.
That's very true. Yeah.
And it was more about here's a feeling and then here's another feeling. Rage at the Democrats.
The weave.
And then it was the weave.
Yeah.
Weave. Yes.
I mean, it was a very campaign-style speech.
I know.
For a number of reasons.
Okay, what's your one word?
My one word would be revealing. I think it was very revelatory about what kind of state both parties are in, what kind of president he wants to be and plans to be this time around, and where we're going to go the next couple of years.
You feel like you have a clear sight of where we're going to go?
I mean, I don't think any of this is surprising. We found this out pretty quickly after he won and certainly after he took office. But, I mean, if you had any illusion that anything like the first time around was going to happen where this or that serious person stepped in and stole the tariff off of his desk to prevent him or, you know, convinced him not to eliminate this or that, like that is done. You are getting maximal Trump every time. There are 3 more of these to go. And I mean, that's the major thing is I don't know if we're ever going to have like a normal State of the Union ever again. You know,
No, we're going to get props next time.
People are props.
The
balloons,
charts that he
you know,
loves, absolutely.
People are going to bring water balloons,
T-shirt toss.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even on. It's just. It's a little exhausting. I gotta say on on both sides. And I mean, I'm not like equating or anything, but like, I would like for us to get to a point in politics where. Everyone behaves in such a way that...
Oh, sweetie. That's never going to happen ever again.
Yeah.
This is signed, sealed, delivered, not to use Obama's campaign song. But, like,
I mean,
the
it's
chat
Oprah.
was saying that this was like an award show, that it felt like Dr. Phil. I was like, it's Oprah, look under your seats.
Yeah.
There is a showman quality that he is adding that everybody wants Democrats to meet that standard, their base. Republicans are all... There's Nancy Mace, who loves a stunt queen.
And
I don't
we'll
think
probably
there's
get her
ever
to be governor of South
going
Carolina as
back.
a result of that. Yeah, I think my other takeaway, I
Yeah.
think Democrats are going to have a family discussion about what went right tonight and what didn't go
Are
right.
they gonna agree?
And I don't think they're going to agree. I think a lot of people are going to say that what went best was Al Green's interruption, and what didn't
Say
work
it
was
ain't
little
so.
signs. And I mean, who knows? Ultimately, they also have to decide who their audience is. Are they super concerned about swing voters in Colorado's 8th congressional district in November 2026? What are they doing? You know, so a lot of more questions than answers. A night that raised questions for us all.
Shake the fist. That's where we go. Full of emotional ups and downs, standing ovations, special guests in the audience. It's like professional wrestling all over again, WWE style. Linda McMahon in the building. I just don't know how you combat divine intervention.
Pretty fair,
you can't.
yeah.
You really can't.
Yeah.
So here's what I need to know and what we'll start pondering. But chat, we're going to film a WTFA takeaways episode right now. What do you want to hear about the most? Where do we go from here? What are Democrats in the meeting tomorrow morning? Or actually, as we know, Democrat emergency meetings take place 2 weeks after the emergency is over.
Yeah,
so
it's
what
kinda
will they be
Congress in
meeting
general.
about in
Yeah.
2 weeks? Tell us what you want us to talk about in that WTFA episode. Drop it in the chat. We need it.
And if you're not subscribed to the Recount on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe
Then
button.
how are you
we are
here?
about to hit 100K. When we do, they promise to buy me a cake. They haven't made that promise. But also, we don't like cake.
Oh, I got promised a car.
A Hyundai?
Crazy. A Honda Civic made in
Civic.
Indiana.
See, I told you, I don't know car names. But yeah, definitely drop it in the chat. Check back with our episode tomorrow because it's going to be published in
morning.
about 12 hours. Make sure you hit that bell so you know every time my show, Margin of Error, and Grace's show, WTFA, go up. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Truth Social.
Snapchat.
Venmos.
Yeah, Venmo. Love.
No,
Cut
this
us
was
a
fun.
check. Let us know if you want more lives. You do. I'm telling you that you do right now. And we'll be back soon. We never know how to end these things. It usually is some sort of whirlwind of chaos.
Well,
much
you're in
like
control of that.
Trump's
but
hair faring in a blizzard, Amy Klobuchar. Stick around for coverage on the recount socials of the after responses.
Afters.
Alyssa
Come to
Slotkin.
the afters.
Come to the afters with Bernie Sanders. A Bernie Sanders afters would be fucking amazing. Peace and love, to quote Drew Nelson. Goodbye. As I turn and look helplessly to Wyatt from Guilty Dog Productions. Thank you. Just be still.